Hello and welcome to another episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I'm your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Codo, aka Codo Man. When it comes to cinematic crossovers, and actually let me rephrase that, when movies come to mind, cinematic crossovers come to mind. Now, why is that? Well, sometimes I see cinematic crossovers as more of coming together, or as some people like to call it, versus. You know, like a person going up against one other person, like person versus person. So when I mean verse, I mean one-on-one brawl. True, yes. And you guys are probably wondering, well, what films am I talking about? Well, you know, there are films that do like verses and crossovers like Freddy vs. Jason, Aliens vs. Predators, and Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, to name a few. However, one recent film that just swinged into action on HBO Max just last week, and you guys are probably going to get a good guess of what film this is. Well, I am talking about Godzilla vs. King Kong, or as many people like to call it, Godzilla vs. Kong. That's right, folks. Almost 60 years in the making since the 1963 original King Kong vs. Godzilla, Godzilla vs. Kong brings in the Kaiju Monster action between the two titans of Legendary's Monsterverse, which follows the 2019 sequel of Godzilla King of the Monsters, including 2017's Kong Skull Island. Godzilla vs. Kong was directed by Adam Wingard, with the story told by Michael Daughtry, who previously directed Godzilla King of the Monsters. Plus, Terry Rossio also contributes to the story as well. The film stars Alexander Skarsgård with a score by Tom Holkenberg, also known as Junkie XL. And for this film, it is huge on action, like literally. Now, before I go into details of the action, the film itself is also the 36th film in the Godzilla franchise, the 12th film in the King Kong franchise, and the 4th Godzilla film to be completely produced by a Hollywood studio. Plus, this is also the 4th film in Legendary's Monsterverse. And as I mentioned, the film stars Alexander Skarsgård. Plus, it also stars Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Sean O'Gurry, Isa Gonzalez, Julian Dennison, Lance Reddick, Kyle Chandler, and Demian Bicker. In the film, King Kong clashes with Godzilla as humans lured the giant ape into the Hollow Earth to retrieve a power source for a weapon to stop Godzilla's mysterious rampages. Now, yes, this is actually where the action kicks in. Now somewhere in the film they do fight, but I will get to that pretty soon. Now, this is actually one of the biggest films that just came out this year, and actually one of the most anticipated films, because Godzilla vs. Kong is so anticipated. Like, it leaves people questioning who will win in a fight, Godzilla or King Kong. Now, I also asked this earlier during one of my hit mix hours, where I actually brought up King Kong versus Godzilla. Now, the question is, who am I rooting for? Who was I rooting for, as should I say? I mean, was I rooting for Godzilla or King Kong? Well, it was a hard call. I mean, actually, to be fair, I was kind of rooting for Godzilla for a moment. I was actually kind of rooting for Godzilla for a moment, but hey, come on, guys. We all have different points of views of who will win in a fight, Godzilla or King Kong. Sometimes it's hard to say, but sometimes it's not a bad idea to look into the film, bring up the thoughts and reviews of how the film went down. So, yeah. Other than that, the film itself was released in theaters and, as I mentioned, HBO Max. But the theaters had a huge opening weekend, like literal opening weekend, smashing box office records. Well, not as big as like films like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or any of the DCEU films. I'm talking about this is a film that just broke box office records. box office records because of the whole pandemic situation that is going on and how it's affecting theaters. But now, since some of the theaters are reopening only at a certain capacity, yeah, starting to bring in some big numbers right now. But yeah. I mean, the film itself was actually well received by critics and audiences, praising the action sequences and visual effects. Though some of the human elements were criticized. Now, yeah, true. I know one of the main weaknesses in Godzilla vs. King Kong, or should I say, the entire MonsterVerse as a whole, is the human elements. Now, not all of them were bad. Some of them actually contribute well to the story. Others, not so much. But that's their opinion. But hey, we're here for like kaiju action. This is kaiju monster action. So yeah. So anyway, it's time for me to smash in my thoughts with some kaiju monster action. And as always, spoiler alert, okay? Now, the film itself takes place 5 years after Godzilla defeated King Ghidorah, which is the events of Godzilla King of the Monsters, which came out in 2019, even though technically the film came out almost 2 years after that, but yeah, 5 years. Okay. So basically, King Kong is monitored by Monarch within a giant dome on Skull Island, and as always, he does his usual routine when he wakes up in the morning. And to be fair, I will say this: I did get a few laughs from the story. The story itself, how do I put this? I say it's cheesy at best. There were some moments I actually liked, but there are definitely a lot of cheesy moments that could get a good laugh. Yep. Yeah, well, this isn't the first MonsterVerse movie where they kind of did that, So anyway, Kong is visited by Gia, and including Kong expert Eileen Andrews. And by the way, Gia is the adopted daughter to Eileen Andrews in this film. And Gia is actually a person who can communicate with sign language, and while communicating with Kong via sign language. Now, I know some people criticize the human elements throughout this film, especially some of the other films in Legendary's MonsterVerse, but I thought this moment was actually pretty touching and heartwarming too, because you have a human interacting with Godzilla via sign language, and I thought that was actually pretty good. Because actually, fun fact, I also do a little sign language, but not a lot. I did 2 semesters of sign language back in the College of DuPage in my hometown. Well, actually, I live in Naperville, but I did took a couple of semesters of sign language back at the College of DuPage. So that was actually a pretty heartwarming moment, knowing that like we actually have in this film we actually have someone communicating with Godzilla through sign language, which that was actually pretty good. Now, cut to more. Bernie Hayes, who is being played by hang on, if I remember this name correctly, Brian Tyree Henry. Yes, that is him in this movie. Bernie Hayes, who's played by Brian Tyree Henry, he is an employee of Apex Cybernetics and a host of a Titan conspiracy theory podcast. Hey, I'm doing a podcast too for movies as well. Now, Bernie extracts data suggesting sinister activities at a Pensacola facility. However, Godzilla suddenly attacks the facility during the rampage, and Bernie stumbles on a massive device. Madison Russell, a fan of Bernie's podcast, enlists her friend Josh to investigate Godzilla's attacks. Now, yes, right out of the gate, we do get to see King Kong, and then another scene later, we get to see Godzilla. Finally, we finally get to see Godzilla in the opening, Now, Madison Russell is once again played by Millie Bobby Brown, and also now she also has a friend in this movie, and his name is Josh Valentine, and he is played by Julian Dennison. And Julian Dennison, who you may actually recognize him as Russell Collins, aka Fire Fist from Deadpool 2. Now, when I actually first saw this on HBO Max, I actually recognized the actor. I just didn't know who the name was. The voice actually sounded so familiar, but I just realized it's the same actor who played Fire Fist, Russell Collins, in Deadpool 2. So, hey. So, yeah, there's definitely something right there. So, anyway, the Apex CEO Walter Simmons recruits Nathan Lind, who is being played by Alexander Skarsgård, to a Hollow Earth theorist. Who basically, Nathan Lind is a Hollow Earth theorist to guide a search for a powerful source into the Hollow Earth, the homeworld of the Titans. Nathan is initially hesitant as his brother died on an expedition to the Hollow Earth due to a strong reverse gravitational effect. And while he does agree, after Walter reveals that Apex has developed something, and I think, am I saying this correctly, Heaves, Heavs. Although I actually don't know what that really means. Heaves, Heavs, which that really does question me a lot. Which really does. I mean, true. Yeah, I know. That is definitely something that really questions. That is definitely something that really questions the whole film, if you know what I'm saying, right? So anyway, yeah. As you probably might know, you're probably wondering what was going on in this film. True, yeah. Although we do get to see Kyle Chandler again. As Madison's father. Yes, that's right. Kyle Chandler, Dr. Mark Russell. Dr. Mark Russell is the father to Madison Russell. If you remember in Godzilla, King of the Monster, Madison Russell was also in that film as well. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Kyle Chandler, who plays Mark Russell, I think his role was pretty minor. Although, more minor, it was still a major point in the film, but it felt more minor in this film rather than a major role compared to the other Godzilla films, if anybody can relate to that. So, moving forward, Nathan meets up with Eileen and convinces her to let King Kong guide them through the Hollow Earth via an outpost in Antarctica. Nathan, Eileen, and an Apex team led by Walter's daughter, Maya, who has been played by Isla. No, did I say her name? No, wait, hang on. Isa Gonzalez. That's Maya Simmons. That is basically Maya Simmons, Walter Simmons' daughter in this film. And oh wait, hang on. I might have went too much ahead because before that, King Kong and Godzilla do brawl in the sea. And yes, big spoiler ahead, there was a huge brawl in the sea for King Kong versus Godzilla. Round one, folks. Okay. And when I first saw the huge battle, now Nathan and Eileen and a few other and the members of the Apex team were out to sea with King Kong, and somehow Godzilla merges into the sea and starts to take out the crew. Takes out the crew. Like yeah, and especially when Godzilla comes aboard the ship and fights King Kong, and that first battle got me pumped, and I was like, yes, come on! I was like, come on, boys, let's see some Tyson action right now, yeah. I mean, this was me throughout the fight, and to be fair, I'll say this: King Kong put up a good fight with Godzilla. The first fight itself with King Kong and Godzilla, amazing kaiju fight. Like like they literally went all out on each other. Now, even though it was a little short, it still serves as a reminder of these are the two legendary Kaiju Monster Titans. This is what you are seeing. This is what you are getting in a monster fight. Their abilities to fight, their strengths and weaknesses that are going on. And little spoiler alert, King Kong did lose the first fight. Godzilla won the first fight. First round goes to Godzilla, by the way. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, and yes. Yeah, oh man, that was basically a huge fight that was going on. And before that fight, King Kong was definitely restrained, and and yes, this is where the fight where Godzilla attacks the convoy and beats King Kong, as I mentioned earlier. And even though Godzilla retreats after the ships were disabled, their power, like I said, this was actually on sea. Going back to the ships, disable the powers and trick them into thinking they are destroyed to avoid alerting Godzilla. King Kong is airlifted to the Hollow Earth entrance, and Gia convinces him to enter the tunnel while the team follows him in the heaves. So later on, Madison and Josh find Bernie, who joins the investigation, and they sneaked into the wrecked Apex base, discover a secret facility underground, and are inadvertently locked into an underground monorail transport to an Apex facility in Hong Kong, where they unwittingly stumble on a test of, get this folks, you better back out of this right now. Back out of this right now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, I said spoiler alert at the beginning, but here's the thing. Back out of it now, because I'm saying it right now. This is the next big thing. The next big monster that comes in. Okay? Are you guys ready? You want to back out? Back out right now. I'm giving you all a chance right now. Okay. Here's the big thing about this next monster. And I actually got really surprised. They stumble on a test of Mecha Godzilla. You heard that, right? Mecha Godzilla. Oh my god. I mean, I never heard of Mecha Godzilla until I was watching Ready Player One, where they actually used Mecha Godzilla, and man, oh man, was that something. Seeing Mecha Godzilla for the first time in a MonsterVerse film, well, actually, even though they did use it in other monster films, I'm talking about for the legendary MonsterVerse. That was something to behold. And Mecha Godzilla is telepathically controlled by Ren Serizawa, the son of the late Ishiro Serizawa, through the neural networks from the skull of the severed head of King Ghidorah. No, I am not making this up, folks. I am not making this up. They use King Ghidorah's severed head for the neural networks. And I thought they were going to use the severed head for King Ghidorah in another film. But I mean, I thought it was going to be a different film where Godzilla may go up against King Ghidorah once more. But I wasn't expecting that they were going to use King Ghidorah's head to create Mecha Godzilla for the neural networks. That is surprising. Somehow, it's hobbled by its power and supplies limitations. And this was created through Walter. Walter intends to harness the Hollow Earth's energy to overcome Mecha Godzilla's limitations. So, I don't know if I'm crazy or not, but it looks like they are probably using Godzilla at one point, I think. Inside the Hollow Earth, and by the way, I thought the Hollow Earth part, I thought it was actually beautiful, and I liked the visual effects that they actually used. They used to create Hollow Earth. And Kong and the team find an ecosystem similar to Skull Island, which is really true because of the whole visual effects that they use in that sequence is actually pretty good. They discover his species' ancestral throne room, where they find remains of an ancient war with Godzilla's kind and a glowing axe made from another Godzilla's dorsal plates. That's right. I totally forgot about that. The dorsal plates, like the ones on Godzilla's back. And those are the dorsal plates. And I never really come to that. I never really did. And as they identify the power source, the Apex team sends in the signature back to their Hong Kong base, despite Eileen's protests. Attracted by Mecha Godzilla's activation, Godzilla arrives in Hong Kong and sensing King Kong, he directly drills a shaft to the throne room with his atomic breath. And the ensuing mayhem, Maya and the Apex team attempt to escape, but their heave is crushed by Kong. Kong, Eileen, Gia, and Nathan ascend to Hong Kong. And round 2, Godzilla versus King Kong. Fight! That's right, folks. We get another battle, another fight between Godzilla and King Kong. And here's the thing. Godzilla, no, actually not Godzilla. King Kong actually emerges victoriously in this fight. He does. The fight itself, oh man, round two of this fight was crazy, especially when they were around the buildings. Now, there's the destruction. There's destruction right there. And that was something that was missing in Batman vs. Superman. And if you guys remember Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, they do fight. Although the fight itself in that film was good, but there was less destruction in that film. While Godzilla vs. King Kong had a lot more destruction. In that compared to what Batman vs. Superman did. You can argue that the original King Kong vs. Godzilla had a lot more destruction, because back then, don't forget, the original King Kong vs. Godzilla is definitely it's definitely a cheesy film, but the way how it sets up, it's a fun, intense, and funny battle. And yeah, and seeing Godzilla and King Kong in modern in today's world with CGI, that is something to behold. Something that fans literally are wanting in a monster fight, in a gigantic Titan-like kaiju action fight. And man, that is definitely something. Yeah. They do. And by the way, Godzilla is initially overpowered by Kong. Yes. Round two goes to King Kong, but round 3 begins when Godzilla emerges, and they literally go all out, smashing through building, atomic breaths with the axe that King Kong has. Kind of like Stormbreaker. You know that Stormbreaker, the axe that Thor has in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame? Yeah, this is like, I feel like they borrowed some of the elements from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I could be wrong. Hey, I'm just saying, there's a comparison right there. Sometimes it's a comparison, like, hey, King Kong has an axe, Thor has an axe in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Godzilla has atomic breath. And of course his tail. So anyway, the fight between Godzilla and King Kong in round 3 does end when Godzilla plummets King Kong to the ground and scratches his chest. Until then, they gave each other a stare and a roar. Like, that actually got me to laugh. And it shows like the rivalry between the two Titans. And I actually I found that pretty funny. Also, I also like they used neon colors throughout this fight in Hong Kong. And and it actually fits the fight pretty well. And I thought it was actually pretty cool, especially when especially how it's set during the nighttime compared to their first battle. Their first battle took place in the daytime. Yeah, that's right. Now somehow Mecha Godzilla comes to life. Mecha Godzilla comes to life, and he goes up against Godzilla. And let me tell you something, Mecha Godzilla literally goes to town on Godzilla, and he does. So then Godzilla is over, because here's the thing, Godzilla is overwhelmed from the fight with King Kong. But thankfully, Nathan revives Kong by destroying the Heave, and Gia convinces him to help Godzilla. As Mecha Godzilla overpowers both Titans, Josh circuits Mecha Godzilla's controls with Bernie's flask of liquor, momentarily interrupting the mech. Godzilla supercharges Kong's axe with his atomic breath, and allowing Kong to destroy Mecha Godzilla. Oh, yes. Team up battle right there. Oh, by the way, you guys are probably wondering what went down with Walter and Ren. I think I might have overlooked that. Even if I went too fast, I apologize. I apologize. So yeah, I'm gonna go back a little bit. So basically, you guys are probably wondering, well, Walter gets killed by Mecha Godzilla prior to Ren getting electrocuted by Mecha Godzilla. And by the way, Madison, Josh, and Bernie were definitely caught by security, taken to Walter before, and then yeah, Walter does get killed by Mecha Godzilla, and Ren gets electrocuted. So then, Kong does lose consciousness after his fight with Godzilla, but like I said, Nathan revives King Kong by destroying the Heave, with Gia helping out to have King Kong help Godzilla, as Mecha Godzilla overpowers both Titans. The fight between Godzilla, King Kong, and Mecha Godzilla is probably one of the best MonsterVerse fights I have ever seen. Like, they are literally teaming up. They're teaming up to defeat Mecha Godzilla. And Godzilla supercharges Kong's axe with his atomic breath, allowing Kong to destroy Mecha Godzilla. Hey, long live the king. Madison, Bernie, and Josh reunite with Mark Russell, while Godzilla and Kong acknowledge each other before the two go their separate ways. Sometime later, Monarch has established an observation post in the Hollow Earth, where Kong now rules. And yes, that's the end of the film. Oh man, what did you guys think? Have you seen this film? Did you guys like the film? Was there anything that I missed from the film? Was this film worth the wait? I say so, because if you really think about it, this was a film that was supposed to come out last year, following Godzilla King of the Monsters, but due to the pandemic, it's been pushed back. So I'm actually glad I got to see this film, because it definitely brought in a lot of expectations, high expectations for this film. Like, do you think this film will do justice? And to be fair, it did. This film gave what fans want: kaiju monster action between Godzilla and King Kong. And while yes, there was another monster, which was Mecha Godzilla, it was worth the fight. Like, there was so much action going on in this film. Like, I couldn't believe my mind. It was so awesome. And the score itself by Junkie XL literally brings the tension and powerful fighting action to this film. Like, he puts in the drum sequences from the band, into the action sequences between Godzilla and King Kong, which was literally amazing score that Junkie XL put in. Yeah. While the direction can be a little off, I mean, it's still, the direction by Adam Wingard was actually pretty good, but there were definitely some moments where it did go off a little bit. The story itself, it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best story, but it definitely delivered expectations for the fans. Some of the critics actually like this film. I mean, they do. Although, yes, I agree, the human elements in this film were often criticized, but I do like how they used like the sign language in this film. Like throughout the film, particularly for this one character, Gia, she uses sign language to communicate with Godzilla, which I actually thought was actually pretty cute and heartwarming. And yeah, so I say you guys should take a good look at this film. This is actually a pretty good film. So yeah. And if you guys are up for some more kaiju monster action, then Godzilla vs. King Kong, or should I say Godzilla vs. Kong, is the film for you. So, yep. Oh, and are you guys probably wondering who won the fight? Well, for King Kong and Godzilla, now just King Kong and Godzilla, not with Mecha Godzilla, I say Godzilla won the fight. I say Godzilla won the fight because of because that third round, while it was a quick fight, it was a pretty quick fight, but Godzilla still emerges victoriously. He still emerges victorious, and definitely represents his strength and will in a fight. And besides, hey, they didn't call Godzilla King of the Monsters for nothing. And hey, even though King Kong won the fight between Mecha Godzilla, they didn't call King Kong for nothing. So yeah, so there is definitely something. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codo Man. Remember to watch movies and stay positive.